Welcome to another great episode of the Beyond Normal podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Groom. I have a very special guest who is working on such a timely initiative around Black businesses, a directory where we can all find incredible Black business owners. They're also in a creative as well in the ad space. And so I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Without further ado, let's bring Gloryah Allen to the stage so we can discuss Black goods and services. Love the name. How's it going, Gloria?
Yay, thank you so much. It's going good. It's Sunday. It's a great day. It's sunny outside and not too cold.
Yeah, we've been having some crazy weather really nationwide. And so things are definitely supposed to heat up this time of year in terms of weather. And so we're in the midst of like, this is like the holiday season, right? There's something to do every single month. And so we got to know where to shop, right? And so you're working on Black goods and services, which I definitely think we all are going to need to tap into during this season, whether it's Valentine's Day, what's coming up next, St. Patty's Day, whatever the celebration is. There's a Black business out there with a product for us, right?
For sure, for sure.
I love that. And so let's talk. Let's take a step back. What were you doing before working on Black goods and services?
Doing what I'm still doing, working in advertising. I've worked in advertising for about 3 years now. Before that, I luckily was able to work at an architecture firm. It was a really great experience. Learned a lot about just building spaces, building hospitals, culture museums. And before that, I had just got my graduate at in Richmond, Virginia for advertising. So I specialized in experience design and have just done experience design in different industries so far.
I love that. Appreciate you giving us that breakdown there, Gloria, around your background in advertising. I don't necessarily hear too many people going the route when it comes to getting their degree. It sounds like from an undergrad and a graduate perspective in advertising. So I'm curious, like, has that been something you knew for a long time that you would be getting into? Like, were there signs as a teenager that you were going to be going into the ad space? I'm curious.
No, honestly, not at all. The idea of me going to advertising kind of started my last year of college. I knew that a little bit about me. I was in economics and an art major, art double major. So I did economics and I did an art major together. So I always knew that my passions were like very oil and vinegar. Who likes to do economics but also likes art in some way. So I always knew that, yeah, the things I wanted to do were a little bit oil and vinegar. And it wasn't until my last year where they actually had an advertising kind of like sprint or workshop class that you could do for the whole year for 2 semesters, where you compete in an advertising competition and they give you a brand. I think it's called NASAC, National Student Advertising Competition. And I got into the class, you had to apply to it, got accepted into class and realized like, oh, advertising is actually the space where I can be creative and also strategic at the same time. Usually like with economics, those people are going to be more statisticians or, working for the government in the public sector, which is great. And then artists, they're doing like really high-end design or they're going to, pursue that a little bit further. I really liked that advertising was somewhere in the middle. You get to be creative, you get to be artistic, but you also get to be strategic and you get to understand why people do the things they do. So from that class, I found out about my graduate school that had a major or concentration in advertising, specifically experience design. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what I've been looking to do this whole time. Didn't know about it until my last year.
I love that. It seems like all your passions are meeting into this one like space that you found, and like you said, it seems a little bit like I like how you put it, like oil and vinegar, right? Being like a somewhat of a data nerd, but then like you have some interest in the arts, and so I definitely think that ad space is a perfect union of that right now as we see. You think about like traditional advertising meeting like the big techs of the world where they're doing like ad tech and stuff like that. And so you're in a great space. So I'm curious, now that you've been in advertising, for quite some time now, a few years, like how has it been? How has your experience been, um, with working with brands that focus on minorities? Like, have you had that experience in the ad space yet?
For myself, I fortunately have. I actually just finished a project last year called partnered with Advil. It was called Believe My Pain, and we're actually I'm doing part two of it too. But it's called Advil Believe My Pain, which uh, strives to address pain bias inequity in the healthcare space. So a lot of the times, Black people who are going into the hospital or going to the doctors, a lot of the time they're just not heard and their pain isn't addressed. That there used to be a statistic, still is, but we know that it's wrong. Is that Black people didn't feel as much pain when it came to whatever was wrong with them or their ailments. So if you were telling a doctor, you or me, or telling a doctor that something's wrong, they just didn't believe you as much. And also too, I think just the history with our country, there is a lot of bias towards Black people, and the healthcare space isn't one that isn't ignored when it comes to the bias. So we made this website, and it's an entire initiative. There's a lot of creative with it. They did an entire roundtable where they spoke with Dr. Uche Blackstock, who is a Black doctor, Black woman doctor, and 4 or 5 people um, told their stories of the pain and equity that they experienced in the healthcare space. So a lot of Black women are more susceptible to like fibroids, and the pain that comes with that. They just tell you, oh, it's just cramps or something, and then you find out you have like these masses that are building up in you, and they need to be addressed. Another man talked about like I think it was like with some chest issues, heart issues, that just kind of went ignored until it becomes so serious that they can't ignore it. So it's like, how can we give people like me as a patient or doctors to address that bias in the healthcare space? And it's in partnership with Advil.
I love that. I love that story. There's a couple things there that you touched on. The first thing is around like the black consumer. Um, like for 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 big enterprises, right? Like you mentioned, Advil, which is a really big company. They're part of a conglomerate. Like their black consumer base is a business within itself, right? And so there needs to be specific stories told, just a specific kind of like value that's displayed for that black consumer. And so I'm curious, like how, now that you're working on black goods and services, let's pivot a little bit. Like what are you pulling into building this, like that those experiences that you had for campaigns for like a Advil and bigger brands, like what are you able to pull from those bigger brand experiences into what you're building now with black goods and services?
That's a great question. I think right now, at least what I've been able to focus on is the network of Black people, and also I guess 3 things. One, the network that comes with Black people, the messaging that comes with us. Like, it's a Black McDonald's ad when you see it. There's a certain way
Hmm.
that advertising talks to us. But then also, I think about, or something that I want to focus on is the Black dollar. Like, no one else is going to pull us out of whatever oppression they've put us in. It's up to us, unfortunately, but it's up to us, and we have the power to do so. There's like I think for in the next 5 years or so, the Black dollar is going to be worth $1 trillion just in the US economy, meaning like we spend our dollar circulates 1 trillion times, $1, 1 trillion times within our economy. So how can I, with Black Goods and Services, make sure that dollar that's being cycled is then going back into or circulating back into Black businesses and Black families and Black
Hmm.
households and things like that. So, yeah, that's those are the things I really want to focus on is how can we decentralize ourselves from the idea that we can only support ourselves with other people when we can do it ourselves too.
I love that. I love that. I'm curious, as you've worked with bigger brands, is there is there something that Black business owners is there something that we often overlook in terms of our story, that bigger brands like an Advil and some of the companies that you've worked with, they leverage, a little bit more effectively, or they just bring it to the table, like, versus, Black business owners, we're oftentimes a team of one or a team of few. Like, is there something we overlook in our story that we should maybe be highlighting a little bit more from your perspective?
Yeah, I definitely think there is, and I will caveat and say, like, as you mentioned, sometimes we're a team of one, so the critique isn't because your your brand is bad or something. Sometimes we're only one person and can only do so much and focus on one thing at a time while also taking care of ourselves and our families and whichever. So it's more of like a objective criticism versus overall. But I think something that us as Black business owners can work more on is our brand and storytelling. So brand
Mm.
meaning, hey, our logos, our the colors that we choose, the maybe fonts, like having a more cohesive brand visual, so to speak, and then also brand storytelling. I definitely want to emphasize the importance of brand storytelling. You may Your friends may know you and like the people around you that are buying from you a lot, but if I've never met you before, I need to be able to feel that same way that your friends do within 5 minutes or 5 seconds, honestly. If I'm looking at your
Mhm.
Instagram, I need to be able to get that story the same way that your loved ones do in a pretty quick turnaround, so to speak. So I think if we took a step back and took a little bit of time to just get a template for our brand and also focus on our brand story, that goes so much further in terms of the outreach you get from others. And I think now we're in a space where there's so many great tools or easy tools to do that. Like I'm a huge, it's not Black owned, but Canva is amazing. Like again, I'm a designer. Worked in advertising. I know Photoshop. I know Illustrator. I know all the design programs, but I use Canva. Like I love her. I'm gonna use her for a pretty long time because it's just so efficient. Again, you can get your brand colors, you can get your fonts, you have them there. If you have a team, even a small team of people, you can have that on there. But there's a lot more tools nowadays that helps you build that brand and brand storytelling a lot faster. So use them.
Mhm. I love that. I know we talked a little bit before this call, and I felt good saying that, hearing that you use Canva, because I am not the most graphically inclined, I guess. And so for me, it's just like a quick tool, like you said, I can have all my brand assets in one place. And I can see somebody getting, overwhelmed by some of the more advanced tools that are out there. And it's really cool that you have the complete perspective of using all these tools that are at a lot of people's disposal in the graphic design space. But then, like you're saying, like some of the most basic, simple tools, you get a lot of value from, specifically for small business owners.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I am never gonna be like, oh God, yeah, you need to use the highest version of Illustrator or anything like that, or the S3 program. I I think even learned for myself as a designer, I can tend to be a little bit more of a perfectionist because I'm like, it has to be pixel perfect. But no, I've had to um learn like, hey, you need to get rid of that idea that things need to be perfect and it just needs to be done. It needs to get out there and
Hmm.
you can sharpen it and hone it over time. That's something I was like, okay, yeah, that's the way to go. Is get something out there. It may not be perfect, but sharpen it as you go.
I love that. I love that for sure. It definitely that's something I had to deal with for sure, around content specifically, because I essentially started following like people with like several 100,000 followers, right? And I'm like, oh, I want my stuff to look like that, but then it's like if you're starting from day one, these people have like maybe a 3, 5, maybe even 10, 20 year head start because they've been working on this. My stuff ain't gonna look like theirs, and you gotta accept that.
And they may have a team. What I don't think people realize either
Mm,
is like a lot of design work. I mean, working in an advertising agency, these brands, it's still I think very recent. Say like in the past 20 years that there's now like these in-house brand teams. Because a lot of the time
mm,
before that, if it's a big brand, an advertising agency was doing that work or a design agency was doing all the work designing it, and then that agency was then giving it back to the brand. So even for these big brands, they have been outsourcing for more time than they've had these in-house brand teams. So that's kind of like the smoke and mirrors that people think like, oh my God, they just have all the time in the world or all the resources or within their own team. No, they're outsourcing for the most part
mm.
and then come and
That makes
then giving it
sense.
over because that's literally my job at an ad agency.
Yeah, yeah, that
Do it
makes
for the
sense. That
do it
that
for the brand and we give it back to them and they post it or do whatever with it.
got it. How do you? I'm curious, like in your work within an ad agency, like how do you find yourself struggling to like disconnect from the work and then move to the next product or the next project?
Um, you're saying like disconnect from like my everyday or just in between one project to
In
another?
between the projects, like has there been a project where you were so invested and then when it came time to hand it over, like maybe you were still thinking about it afterwards, like, hey, maybe I could have did a little bit more. I'm curious, like, or are you just like, hey, this is an assignment for this period. Next 30 days is this. Like, I'm curious, like,
I think I've done a good job of, I don't want to say disassociating, but yeah, like separating myself from each project. It can be a little hard sometimes to manage like what we've talked about, say like last week or like, progress check ins. If you have three projects at the same time, you're like, what did we talk about at
mm,
the last one? But that's why I write
got
a lot
it.
of notes. Like, write things down. My brain is only gonna, I have about 2 gigabytes left of space in my brain to remember anything. So I write everything
Hmm.
down that I need to. And then when we get to the next meeting, it's like, okay, here's our progress and what we want to do next. But in terms of projects that I was like, I just can't get over, I honestly, I think the Advil one was really, really special to me. Um, I think because I am the target audience for that. Like
Yeah,
I am a black woman who has health issues and would have has trouble, finding the right mix of doctors or healthcare providers, stuff like that. So I
got
think
it.
that was definitely one. It was like, oh man, now I'm. It's like you finish a project and then there's going to be a day where you're done with the project and then you move on to the next one. You're like, oh man, I wish I could be more integrated, but you have to move on to the next project until it's time for you to come in again.
Got it. So let's talk a little bit about Black Goods and Services. On your Instagram, right? You have a line in the bio section that says this is a network of Black goods and services for the rest of time. That last piece stood out the most to me. We saw a couple years ago, with the pandemic, the initiatives that were released. Right, there was like a real big buzz around Black businesses, putting resources into them, making sure we have a way to track that. And then a couple years pass, and now it's not the sexy thing to do. So I'm curious, like for you, like how do you see this going, like you said, for the rest of time? Like what's the progression of you building this out? Like, or like what's your vision for it?
Yeah. Well, first, I want to address that. Like, yeah, I want this to be something that lives on after I do, because clearly with these larger brands, they're tit for tat with it. It's like, oh yeah, we'll do it for a little bit, and then we fall, and then they'll see that so timely as it's happening right now. They'll see like it's happening right now. Oh, they're serious.
Hmm.
The sales are going to go down. They're going to be like, okay, my bad. I'm my bad.
Yep.
We're going to integrate some things in here again. Not anymore. At least not for me. This was it. So it's going to be my initiative for the rest of the time to be able to support Black businesses in my everyday life, um, as long as I'm here, and then this will live on for after that. In terms of my vision of how I see this going on in the future, or at least the near future, I would love to have a retail store or some sort of marketplace, where it's kind of like Target or something, but it's all Black owned businesses. We don't have to, I don't want to say worry or have to do as much research. Everything in here is Black owned. Buy it. You can use it for your everyday. So I'd love to have, maybe start off with an online marketplace or a pop up, or like even at farmers markets or something, but have a marketplace in a retail store of sorts where we can just buy all the products that I have, um, on the directory, or just make it easier for all of us to um, circulate our Black dollar.
I love that. I love that. Definitely, I definitely see there being a push for like in person. So, like you said, doing the pop ups and things like that, sprinkling those in. It's just good to have that. Go to the spot where you can get that locally sourced product. It means a lot, I think. So right now you have 5,000 plus via the latest information. I think people oftentimes they don't realize. Think as of like the most recent stats, there's right around like 200,000 Black owned businesses here in the states, and so like talk about. I'm curious. Like you're going to definitely be growing this platform. Like how can somebody get their business added to the directory?
Yeah, they can message me on Black Goods and Services Instagram. So if they have a business, just send me a DM and I'll be sure to add you. Always moving, always busy, but I will respond. It may take a while, but I promise I will respond and add you on there. Eventually, I'd love to have a system where it's just kind of automated, where you put it in, I can review it, and then it's added into the directory. But for now, by all means, send me a DM and we'll get you added.
I love that. I love that. What didn't we touch on for Black goods and services? So this month we're in now is obviously one of the months where we're supposed to see like quite a significant amount of sales with black businesses, being that we're in Black History Month. But I'm curious, what what do you see? Trying to think how to word this. What do you see in terms of like what do Black businesses need to do to make their brand stick out, I guess, like year round? Like, what are some of the things from your ad brain that Black businesses can do to put their business in a position to have the most eyeballs or just have the most awareness at any given time, so that people know what their product is and how they can buy it? Like, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Oh gosh, that's such a hard one because I feel like I'm also now a Black business, and I would have to then take my advice and be like, because one thing that at least comes to mind for me is one, putting your face out there, which I'm so like bad at doing. or I'm resistant to do it, so I'm truly a hypocrite. But one, putting your face out there and just giving your message, like, hey, this is who we are. This is why we started. Here's the problem that we're solving. Simple questions. I think that's three good ones. Who you are, why you started, what's the problem that you're solving, or how is this a solution? How is this product a solution for us? And also, I think just having like a good contact information. How do I find you? Is probably the fourth one then. How, so the
Mm,
third one being like, okay, this is how we've solved the problem. Here's how to find us. And like have a
got it.
schedule. I think of this one, um, I mean it's a lot of places, but there's like the best taco place here in the Northern Virginia area. But every time that they have a new location, they're very adamant. Like they have their calendar, they're posting, and they're consistently posting. Here's our schedule. Here's where excuse me. Here's where we will be. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that's if you don't have those things, I think that's where you can start. Is
Got
tell
it.
your
I love that.
story.
I
Tell
love
your
that.
yeah. I was gonna say tell your story, give your solution, and where they can find you. If it's online, if it's in store, if it's at a farmer's market, let them know and be consistent. And I'll take my own advice. I need
Those
to
are
do the same.
questions. I was just gonna say I probably gotta go. I'm gonna take note of those questions, and I'm actually gonna go back and make sure we're answering them for Beyond Normal Media because they seem so simple, but then when you start to think about it, to your point, Gloria, like, am I really doing this in the most effective way for our audience? All right. So, all right. Appreciate you for sharing so much on this call with your background, what you're building with Black Goods and Services. I'm looking forward to shopping it myself. I've checked out the platform a couple times already, and I already have been able to highlight a couple businesses that I can definitely make sure they get my dollars moving forward. I want to pass it to you in closing. Let folks know what's the preferred method for them to tap in with Black Goods and Services, and then just your lasting thought that you want our listeners to leave this conversation with.
Yeah. Well, in terms of, well, one, I want to say thank you so much for the platform. This is extremely new for me. I'm so glad that you reached out, and I'm continuously building this as I go. So we're we're all moving at the same spot, building the plane as we fly it. So I want to say thank you for having this platform for me to do this. Um, the next question, I already forgot it that you had.
Oh, so the last question is, what do you want as that lasting thought for those listening in here?
Yes, and you had said how best to reach out. Best to reach out is at Black Goods and Services. All those words, all the letters, at Black Goods and Services on Instagram. Feel free to DM me. Feel free to comment. I'd love to create more conversation. And the lasting words that I'd love to have for you guys is, and again, I need to take my own advice, is to stay consistent. um, Someone is watching, clearly. I had just built this. I've had this idea for a long time. And I finally, at the beginning of 2025, I was like, I just need to put something out there. And that's how I found you. So definitely stay consistent. Clearly tell your story. Use the tools that are out there to do it, and sharpen them as they go. And I would love to, again, like I said, partner with anyone that is interested or has questions or anything. I'm an open book. So thank you.
Appreciate it, Gloria. Way to close things out. For those that have been listening in, thanks for tuning in to another great episode of the Beyond Normal podcast. Peace.
Bye.